we will get started with integrating your AMS and EdgeReg. You guys, we're going to implement, we have slides, but we also have polling. We're going to do some polling, so be prepared for some polling. And then we're also going to show you the EdgeReg different integrations. So Corey's going to show that. So we'll do, hopefully to make it interactive, but please, you do not have to wait to the end for questions. I got a handheld mic. I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to walk around. Aaron's also going to be asking questions. So feel free. Do not feel like you have to wait till the end. Okay, so integration has an amazing, amazing ability for the short term and the long term. And I think there's a transformative power of it. You can continue with just EdgeReg, but if you can hook it up and integrate it with your AMS, the amount of things that you can do for the future are pretty unbelievable, and we're going to talk about that. But before, Aaron gave us a little bit, just to give you guys a little bit more understanding of who we are. I'm the CEO of SB Expos and Events, and Corey is, I'll let her explain who you are, just to give you a little bit better understanding. We started the company in 2009, and we have added registration a couple years ago once Cadmium purchased EdgeReg. We think it's a fantastic product. It's an incredible module to add on to the entire ecosystem for Cadmium. So I'll have Corey introduce herself. She's the expert. I'm the general slides. She's the expert.
I don't know if I'm an expert, but I have been using EdgeReg for a very long time. I even used it before when it was Event Rebels. I've been in the industry for like 20 years. I've done housing, logistics, exhibits, pretty much everything, and I always loved registration the most. So at SB, that's why I am here, and that's why I now focus only on registration. And the reason I like it so much is I love the technical aspect of registration, like the databases and all the technology, and I also love customer service. So for me, it was like a perfect fit to be at SB. So,
all right, thanks, Corey. Okay, so let me make sure. Oh yeah, here we go. All right, so we do 52 events a year for 28 different associations. We have done 8 different registration integrations with EdgeReg. We recently became certified in the check-in and badging. You saw us out front with that, as well as the lead retrieval. We tell you this to give you a sense of that we have a little bit of understanding what we're doing, but we don't know everything, right? So please feel free to ask questions. Our conferences range in size from 300 to 7,000, and we've done 8 integrations, but we currently have over 20,000 attendees and like 5,000 exhibitors in 2023, and we're already at 21,000 for 2024. So we deal with a lot of different attendees, speakers, exhibitors in EdgeReg, and we've done a lot of integrations. All right, so, whoops, that's not it. Okay, I'm not going to go through this. This was on the learning objectives. It's kind of wordy. It's in the description, but this is to help you get for the credits. What I'm going to do is shorten that to today's agenda. It was nice, beautiful, written by ChatGPT, but we're going to basically do the basics. So we're going to learn the different types of integration. Integration is one word that encompasses multiple different types. Corey's going to go into describing each different one. We're also going to describe the tangible benefits. What are you going to get out of it today? What are you going to get out of it tomorrow? What are you going to get out of it in a year or 2 years from now? Then we're going to explore the who, why, how, and when. There's a lot of different players involved. It doesn't mean it's complicated. It's just multiple players involved, how and the when. And then finally, 5 tips to remember. You guys, we put a handout on your table next to the beautiful chocolate. We're going to go through each one of these, but it's just a sort of handy tip. Nothing crazy there. Typical aspects of project management integration, but just a little reminder. Okay, so now I'm going to do some magic. I'm hoping this works to go from the slide. We're going to do a Mentimeter poll. How many of you guys done Mentimeter polls? Excellent. Okay, so the first question we're going to ask is, we are going to do Mentimeter. Okay, so the first thing is scan the QR code. Have you guys used Mentimeter before? It's fantastic. Okay, and tell me when you should click on the link.
and in the back, if you expand your image, it'll help.
Okay, when you're ready, I'm going to move over our first question. So you guys should see The first question is, what AMS do you currently use? I put a lot of them on here. Okay, are you guys getting there? The first one, perfect. There we go. Look at this. Yeah.
So cool.
The QR code? I think it messes it up. I'm sorry, I'm not as great with it. But if you go to, look at the top, if you go to menti.com and you type in that code, I can read it. Do you see at the very top? Menti, MENTI.com, and type in the code 7316-5926. You can also access this. All right, look at this. Wow, other.
I know.
Obviously, we guessed wrong. I thought most of you guys would be IMUS. Why not, I'm going to take the microphone. Maybe some people who had other can tell me which ones they use. Who has an other? Does anybody? Come on, there's 12 of you. Somebody's got to be. Come on. Right? Go ahead. Okay.
Hi, we just moved to Impexium.
Okay, thank you. Impexium, did you guys hear that? Any others? Does anybody want to share? Oh, awesome. Impexium? Oh, I love it. Okay, we should have put that one down. Anybody else who's an other that wants to? Yes, thank you, Deidre.
Cobalt.
Kobo? Cobalt. Oh, see, we should have put that up there. Oh, you guys can't, wow, it's kind of far back here. You can't see that. Great. All right, well, just to give you an idea, of all the different, you can tell there's lots of different AMSs. Okay, I am now going to turn this is the magic that I got to figure out to make sure I go back to the PowerPoint. Okay. That one. Perfect. Yay! Oh, look at that. I love that when that works. Okay. Now I'm going to turn it over to our expert to talk about EdgeReg in the Cadmium ecosystem.
Okay, so many of you obviously use Cadmium products. How many people actually use EdgeReg for registration? Just a show of hands. Great, awesome. So our next slide is going to go over just where EdgeReg is in this whole Cadmium world. The orange right at the top is our EdgeReg data. And as you can see, in Cadmium products, the users have a core profile and then a shared profile. The data goes into those two different profiles, and then all the way down to the bottom is the shared profile that attendee can update when they log in and they can change things. And that is what is public facing. So that's going to be like the app, the website, all those different things. And then there's also the core profile, which goes kind of into the back end. The reason I'm showing you all of this is because EdgeReg really is the start of this whole process. And that is why we believe it's the best place to do an integration. Because if you do it in the beginning, the user comes in with one identity. They are assigned a registrant ID. Right when they get in, right when they register, they get this unique ID that then follows them through all their profiles, follows them through all the products. That's why we wanted to kind of emphasize that. Let's see what else. And with all that said, that actually also makes it easier for you all, being you only have the one source of the data, and it also is easier for the attendee, because then they don't have to deal with going into different products and different logins and all that. They have the one ID they get when they go in, and they have it through all of the other products. Any questions on that? All right, so the next is why we're going to talk about why integration is a good idea. And the number one most important thing is the membership renewals. In all of your membership databases, your AMS, you have all your accounts, and they all are mostly members, non-members. When you do an integration, you can then share that information with EdgeReg. So in order for them to get that member rate, in order for it to even show up as an option, that less expensive member rate, their membership has to be current. So in order for them to register, they need to go back and renew their membership and do all those things before they try to go and register for the conference.
And I'm going to jump in for a second. How many of you guys plan it so that they join your association at the same time they register for a conference? Some people sort of force their membership marketing through their conference registration. Does anybody do that here? Well, just some people, you don't have to, but it's where they get the bulk of their renewals is because of their conference registration. No, kind of? Okay. there's a lot of associations where the vast bulk of their membership renewals is through conference registration. Okay, different crowd then. I'll turn it back over to you, Corey.
Another good thing, we're going to go over this more a little bit later, is within integration, you can actually pull that contact information over. We all fill out 1 million forms in our lives. It's always so nice when the information populates. You're like, oh, I don't have to enter my address for like the 100th time. So that's another really good reason to do an integration. Also, the one source of data. If any of you use a different badge printing company, you have to deal with like exporting the spreadsheet out, and then they have to pull it all in, and then you kind of have to get it back at the end, and there's that whole process. If you use EdgeReg at the beginning and you integrate there, then all that is already it's already in Cadmium. There's no pulling of the data to print the badges. It comes right, like you saw when we were when you all checked in today. That was coming right out of the Cadmium system. There was no export that happened to get it into that software. Does that make sense? And we're going to go over this a little bit later as well. There's also a way with integrations where you can actually, your AMS can pull that information back from EdgeReg. So let's say I want to see in my AMS who's registered so I don't have to go in. You can actually have that data available to pull it back, and we're going to go over that in more detail a little bit further. So any questions, or if not, we're going to move on to our next poll.
All right. So if you also notice, we're going to do a lot of polls because I love data. And the awesomest thing about integration is you get great data. All right, so the next question is, do you currently integrate your membership database and registration? Now, oops, I got to go back. Hold on. I got to go to Mentimeter. You're going to see it as soon as I change. Watch. Go back to that. Do you see it now? Awesome. Love it when it works. Yes, no, or no, we use AMS for our reg system. Oh, we have more integrations than I thought. Wow.
Half and half.
Wow. What are you doing in this session then? Oh, all right. Okay. All right. Now, do you use EdgeReg? Out of these 9 people who are currently integrating, how many people, raise your hand if you use EdgeReg? Okay, so 4, 5, 6. Oh, so all right. So you have EdgeReg and you're doing integration. Oh gosh, you guys need to get up here and teach this with us then. All right. Well, that's great. So 8 of you said no, 6 of you or 9 of you said no, and then 6 use your AMS as the registration system. We see a lot of that. I personally have not felt that the AMS is the best source for conference registration, but I understand why associations put it in their AMS. I think it is better fit with the rest of their event technology, and then just do an integration. So the pink and the red, you guys are going to learn a lot. Let's hope the blue, you guys learned something too. All right, now I'm going to go back. I love that this is working. It makes me so happy. Okay, all right, Corey, back to you.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
Is this your product, or is this a product add-on that we can buy through Cadmium?
This is not our product. This is Cadmium's product. We just love it. We do a lot of it. You're going to understand soon what SB does, but this is a Cadmium product. The integration can be 3 different ways. So we're going to talk about that. It's something we can help with, but it's the EdgeReg system, module, component, I don't know, EdgeReg, moving on to integrate with your AMS, okay?
All right, so real quickly, before we kind of get into more details, I just wanted to clarify the definition of integration, and that basically is 2 different softwares talking to each other. In this case, it's going to be your AMS and EdgeReg, and they send data to each other over a bridge. So before you start integrating, you're going to want to think about some different discovery questions. And the first discovery question is going to be your goals. Did you want to talk to that?
I was just turning it off because if I get too close. The first question you have to ask yourself is financially, what are you trying to get out of this, right? The integration's an investment, and when you think about why you want to do it, it's all for data and for the future, so you have to think about that this is an investment for the future and that you can amortize the first year's costs over multiple years. You constantly, I'm sure, spend money on your AMS each year with a consultant to help with it. Consider this too, is that this integration is to help you for the future and to understand that this is an investment and that although it's a big cost sometimes, not always, but that cost up front is well worth it. I think, is it we the next slide?
A couple more.
Oh.
So another thing you need to think about, obviously, is what you're going to be integrating with, what your AMS is, what that third-party application is going to be that's going with EdgeReg. Also about the timing. It does take the first year about 12 weeks to get this all, to get everything set up. After the first year, it's much quicker, but that, like Jen was just saying, it really is kind of like an initial investment in time as well, about 12 weeks. And the biggest thing you need to think about is just like a basic outline of this whole integration. What is it going to look like? Are we going to be sending contact information back and forth over the bridge? What kind of registration categories are we going to offer on the form? And how do those registration categories link up to our membership types? Additional items, workshops, T-shirts, donations, all those fun things. How are we going to have those? Are those going to be pulled back into your AMS as well? And lastly, the demographic questions, like how many years have you attended? All those other questions, are those going to be brought back into your AMS after they register? So after you've answered all those discovery questions we just outlined, it's time for you to really start thinking about what type of integration you want to do. And there's really 3 basic kinds that I've seen at EdgeReg. It sounds like some of you have some other experiences, but I'm going to go over the 3 basics that we've done. And those are what I call number 1, spreadsheet verification, which is really just like the basic level. And then a member lookup, which I'm going to show up as well, and then a single sign-on, where they're actually going over to your AMS, signing in with those credentials, and then coming back again. All right, so now it's my time to try to do the little. All right, so
Show you real examples from
Yes.
real clients of ours that have done this integration.
All right, so this is spreadsheet verification. This technology is already included with EdgeReg. It's no additional cost. Basically, the membership data is uploaded by you or someone else in an Excel spreadsheet directly into EdgeReg as it is. And then I'm going to show you how that works. And then when the person enters their information, it verifies that spreadsheet that you uploaded. Give me 1 second. All right, this is an example of a client that we have that does the membership, the spreadsheet verification. Again, their membership person or somebody has uploaded a spreadsheet that has a list of all those email addresses and who the members are. So you can see that I'm checked off here that I'm a member. You can see up there. All right, I'm going to get one of these. I'm just trying to give you a live demonstration here, folks. Okay, so here's where I enter my email address. So here's where I'm going to say to the system, am I a member or a non-member? So the first one I'm going to enter is going to be this one. And I got that little error. See that red error that popped up at the top? The reason why that error popped up is because my email address was not on the spreadsheet that they had uploaded. So it automatically went in and just did a quick check of the spreadsheet. But
It's the basic sort of integration, right? We're starting
Yep.
from the easy to the harder ones. This is a basic lookup, and it's easy, done, and just very basic.
very, very basic. All right, so I just changed the email address. And there we go. It also pulled all my contact information. And again, this pulled directly from a spreadsheet that somebody had just uploaded into EdgeReg. Any questions about that? Does anyone use this currently? Oh, really? Okay, great. All right, so and then once it's verified that I'm a member, I can just continue through the form, I can pay, I get my confirmation and everything. All right, so the next one we're going to go to is a little bit more complicated. It's called the member lookup. How I describe a member lookup is basically Edge reaching out to your AMS and grabbing the data. It never actually goes in there and nobody logs in there. It just kind of reaches out and pulls the data. So here I am at this client's website. And here I am. Here's my email address for my membership account. Oh, I also want to point out real quick, we also explain in step 1 how they have to have a current membership in order to see the member rates. We also give them links here to verify their contact information or to renew so they're able to see that membership rate. We kind of explain to them that these are the things you need to do. And then under step 2 is where we actually have them enter their email. So hopefully they've already gone in, they've renewed their membership, they're ready to go. All right, I'm going to click next. All right, and then you're going to see up here the member registration rate. You can see like the word member right there in the middle. I'm going to go back and I'm going to enter a different one. All right, so here's just a different email address, a different account. And I'm going to click next. And it's showing me the non-member rate. This is because that email was a non-member. So what I'm trying to describe is what they see on this page correlates with their account in your AMS. So they're only going to see that membership rate if they're coming over from your system as a member. They're going to see the non-member rate if they're coming over from your system as a non-member. And at this point, I can move on. It automatically pulls all my information again. I'm so excited I don't have to enter any of this information. It came right from your AMS. And then I can continue through the form and finish. Any questions about that? Okay. Last but not least is called the member lookup. This one is probably the most complex of all the integrations. The reason why is you're going to see that we're actually going to go into the AMS to log in. So here's the client's website. Register today. Again, we're explaining in step number 1, we highly recommend you renew your membership. We highly recommend everything's good to go before you register. And also look up at the browser at the top. See how it says edgereg.net at the top? When I click the login here to register button, I just went over to your AMS. I already have my username and password because I had already entered it in. But they're entering their username and password. And again, this is their username and password for whatever they'll use to log into your system regularly.
This is SSO, right?
Yep, this is SSO. Here, you kind of saw how it had that little delay. But now you can see I'm back in EdgeReg. And these fees are reflecting my type. I'm a non-member in the system. So that's why it's only showing the non-member rates. If I was a member in the system, it would be showing the membership rates. But you can see from a user perspective, that's the exact same login that they would have used for their membership. This is the most secure way. With this way, you saw with the member lookup, it was just the email. So technically, if I had someone's email, I could just enter it in and register. With this, you have to actually have the password. So it's a little bit more secure. And again, I can just continue along. It pulled all my information over. And then that's the end of that one. So any questions about that?
And you guys can see the 3 different levels, right? The basic spreadsheet, the member lookup, and then the single sign-on. It goes up in complexity. Corey made this look super easy. It's a little bit harder than that. But you can see you can do any level you want, but there's 3 different levels. Yeah, great question.
You said the spreadsheet verification is built into EdgeReg?
Yes.
So where in the settings do I access that?
It's under, I can actually pull that up.
It's under a section called membership, sorry.
No, I actually have EdgeReg open on here.
If it's not enabled for your event, you can talk to your project manager and they can enable it for you.
Let me see real quick. Oops. So it's under membership.
You can do it up at the top too. There's a
Oh, wait, here we go.
They'll help you configure it for the first time, so upload membership list, Corey, to the right. There you go. They'll help you configure it for the first configuration, just to make sure you've got what you need, and then you can upload this frequently.
Yeah, and you can actually even add one person at a time. So if all of a sudden one day this person joins and you just, instead of having to upload like a whole new list, you can actually go into the membership center and just upload and enter one person's information. Any other questions before we move on?
One question. So, the difference between the last two levels, it is like the additional security step, is that kind of?
The main difference was with the member lookup, it didn't actually go into your AMS. It just kind of like grabbed the information and pulled it over. So you just have to enter your email address. So basically, I entered, C. Simbita at discoversb.com. It went over to the AMS, grabbed that information, and pulled it right into EdgeReg.
Right.
With the single sign-on, it actually goes to your AMS. They actually kind of log into your AMS, and then it sends it back. And you do have to enter the email address and the password. So the main difference is the password. And the reason why it's more complicated is because it has that password.
I guess I'm trying to think about it from an attendee standpoint, like the difference, the ease or the difference between, from an attendee standpoint.
Would be security.
Do you want me to answer?
Yeah, sure.
Hi, I'm Jen Sims, I'm the product owner for registration. So a couple other factors that play a role are what AMSs we had SSO integration available for, and also group registration versus individual registration. So an SSO. Sorry.
That's true.
An SSO is just going to be a single registrant because it's only able to verify that individual's member status and pull that person's information. Look up by email address, for example, can do group registration because you can say, I'm registering 3 people. It'll ask for the email addresses of those 3 people and then verify them as a group. Does that help?
Yep. Yeah, but for the user, I think really the difference is they have to enter their password.
Right. From the user experience is entering an email address versus entering their username and password.
All right, so to simplify things a little bit, we're going to talk about when you're actually building an integration, who's involved in the different steps, because it is confusing. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot of different systems and people and things like that. So we're going to talk about the different, who needs to be involved.
Yeah. So earlier there was a good question of sort of why we're up here. What is SB? We work, I mentioned, on lots of different, we do full service registration, on-site badging, and lead retrieval for association clients. When you do an integration, you need a project manager. You need someone who can, I use the concept of the Rosetta Stone, that can translate cadmium, can translate technology, cadmium being EdgeReg, can translate AMS, and make the ball move forward. You also will need a client point of contact, and so someone, the client, to understand what level do you want? What are you prepared to?
You.
Yeah.
Like that would usually be,
You guys.
yeah.
In this room. Then the next one is your AMS tech partner. For those who have IMIS, you have a consultant, right? We didn't have that many IMIS people in here. I was a little surprised about that. But you need someone that you're able to call to ask some questions about your AMS, whoever, whether it's a consultant or whether it's just customer service from that software. And then your integration specialist. So Cadmium offers several options that are easy to do straight off the board. We also, Cadmium has someone that they recommend. This gentleman's also up here up front from American Eagle. American Eagle is a third party for they do the integration. So earlier the question is this our product? What are we doing? No. What we do is the project management to make sure everybody's talking to each other, that it goes forward so that it's a seamless process for attendees. It accomplishes your goals. It's possible with Cadmium, and it's possible from an integration standpoint. So we're the project manager. We just do a lot of these. We think it's really well worth it. We love the EdgeReg system. We love the fact that people would do integration from the beginning, and so we like to talk about it. But there's many different ways to do it. Cadmium can do some in-house, some that they will outsource to American Eagle.
Yeah, why don't we pull that one up?
Yep.
Just go. So I was actually going to pull this up, again, using our tricky. Here we go. So these are the current ones that are supported by EdgeReg. Here, currently by Cadmium, you can see this list of integrations. In all of these scenarios, you would have, like for the Association Technology ATS bridge, that their ATS would be your third-party consultant. So these are the ones offered by Cadmium now. And then we have Stephen Legault with American Eagle, if you want to come on up and say, there's something that it sounds like a lot of you are using different systems. If you wanted to set up like a custom integration that's not on the list, we have Stephen here who has done that many times and will explain a little bit of his role.
Yeah, go ahead.
We currently have EdgeReg, and we were essentially told that we would be able to do group registrations, and we did our SSO with you, Stephen, actually specifically, and literally you specifically. And we are not able to do group registration, and I mean, you guys just kind of touched on that if it's set up via SSO, that you are not able to do that group registration. How would we go about?
A group registration on that side, if your AMS allows an organization registration that you can pass passes through, where that individual has agency over registering an organization and pass types, that would make sense. But if you're registering individuals as a group, so like I'm logging in to register you and you and you and you, and it's not a group pass, that would be problematic. Because at that point, you're not referencing their specific member information. You know, like as an admin registering the C-suite as an example of your membership.
Is there anything that we can do to change the way our integration is set up that would allow us to do those types of group registrations? Because we get the question all the time, and it's one of the main reasons we actually moved over to Cadmium.
Sure.
Is because we were promised group registrations.
Yeah, I mean, let's have a conversation. I'd like to dive in.
Okay, I have your contact.
Call me. Yeah, ultimately, what we want to do, and my role is a little bit of that. What does registration look like? How many different types of registrations do you have? How many different membership types are there? Does A plus B equal C with a variable of, military or not? Driving all of these registrations, and that might be the easiest way to say, here's the right path for you. But our job is to do a little bit of the business analysis and make that recommendation for you, sort of outline those costs, and work closely with the Cadmium project managers, SB project managers, and the actual product teams to make sure that your attendees have a good experience. Don't love hearing that, want to remedy that. So yeah, does that make sense where I fit in, where we fit in? We were a nice, big happy family over here.
Do an integration because you want to make sure you do it right, and you want to make sure you do it on time.
Thank you.
Right? Normally when we see integrations, you still have an event. It's not like we can sort of pause for 6 months and do it. We say 12 weeks, but look, we understand sometimes you're trying to rush it to make sure it fits. And so you need a lot of hands on deck that first year. It gets infinitely easier the second year, you're just tweaking it. But that first year, you need a lot of different people, and you need a project manager that can speak all the languages and make sure it's going forward.
All right, so I think it's time for another poll.
All right. Do you use a third-party on-site badging provider? All right, Mentimeter. All right. Every answer has surprised me, so I can't wait to see this one, what I expected. So the first, yes, we use our AMS for registration in advance and require outside badging. No, we print directly from our reg database. No, but would like to. And the reason we ask this question is, again, it has to do with data, right? That first chart that was the data flow. When you're doing an integration, what you're doing is you're connecting all the data that you have about your members to the data that you want for your event, membership and event. And when you can connect that data downstream, it makes things a lot easier. And when you can pull it back into your AMS, it's unbelievable to have that data for analysis. And here, badging is just one more part. Even if people registered, did they show up, right? Did they send somebody else? How many times, for those who have trade shows, How many times have you seen an exhibitor show up at the last minute? Oh, I'm here to replace Jane. She couldn't come, right? You need to know who it is. And so badging's that final point of your event data. All right, 13 of you know we print directly from our reg database. I expected that, so that's good. That was the only question that I actually expected. 7, you use your AMS for reg in advance and an outside badge printing solution, and no, you would like to. Okay, we will move back to, okay, thanks. Okay, so the options supported by Academy, we did that. That was all the different, and then when American Eagle got up here, Steve did. Okay. Investments. Integrations can cost anywhere from $1,000 to $20,000, right? It really depends on the level. There's 3 different levels. Depends on how complicated your reg system is, how many different membership categories you have, how many different early bird standard with a special welcome reception, early bird standard welcome reception with a guest. You know, you could have, we've seen hundreds of different categories. So it just depends on what you want to do. But we tell you to consider this investment and to amortize it over several years. Your event technology is, every year, but an integration cost is going to drop incredibly steep the next year. You're gonna have to do some integration, but nothing like that first year. And the reason you do it is so that you can analyze this data. Who came? How many people renew their membership the 1 month before they go to the conference? Do you know that? How many people decide to register as a non-member and then change to membership? How many of your members are really participating? You're going to get that data that's going to help you for marketing both your membership and marketing your event. So consider it. It's not without some work, but it's well worth it for the future. All right, then our favorite part, problems you might encounter. I get to turn this part over to Corey again.
Okay, hopefully there's no problems, but we have done this a few times, so we thought we would maybe bring up some things now that you might want to think about. The biggest thing that I hear people asking are where are the edits going to be made? So you have your AMS over here, you have your EdgeReg system over here. When they register, you can they pull the data over to EdgeReg, so all their information's in there. They don't have to enter it. And then the question is if they start making edits. Let's say, okay, I registered in December. In June, I changed jobs. How do I then change my EdgeReg, and how does it affect my AMS? There's 2 different things you can do. You can actually create an integration that is constantly cycling. That obviously is more complicated and more expensive. And you can also, they also have reports in Cadmium, which is what a lot of people do, that show those changes. So you can actually look at a list, an Excel spreadsheet of all the changes that have been made by people with their job titles, their different registration types, all those things. So those are the 2 different things you can kind of do. But that does get complicated, is where are the edits going to be made? Because the registration is open for months, usually. Does that make sense? Okay. The second thing, the exhibitor registration, I don't know how many people use the exhibitor harvester task for registration. Anybody?
Wait, I want to see these hands. This is a question I should have put on the poll. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. 8 in the back. Quite a few.
With the exhibitor harvester, how you start in that exhibitor harvester task, that cannot be integrated. It's set up a little bit differently. There is some workarounds with like discount codes. You can actually kind of use like a different system, but that is not exactly set up yet. Another thing is you really have to have strong membership customer service. What happens with an integration is somebody's trying to register in EdgeReg. They put in their email address. Oh, I'm getting the non-member rate. I swear I'm a member. I swear I'm a member. Where they're determined to get that solved right then and there. They're not going to be like, oh, I'll wait to hear back from somebody for a week. No, they want to go right to your membership person, get that membership updated, and then register right away. It is very quick. It surprises me every day. Somebody goes and updates their membership, and they come right back with that email address, and it shows them the member rate. It can be really, really fast. But you do have to have a strong customer service person on your end who's going to be able to help the people that are trying to register.
And let me tell you when we get most of those calls, your early bird deadline.
Yes.
Your early bird deadline.
exactly.
We will not let our clients put an early bird deadline on a Friday, because guess what?
Yeah.
Their membership, right? So we say early bird deadline needs to be on a Monday or Tuesday, because then if we have to delay it by a day, or then they have to call and say, oh, I need to renew my membership, always think about that. Your early bird deadline, you need to put it on a time that you're going to get these, if you're doing integration, last minute things where people have to renew their membership to make it updated.
And then the last thing I just wanted to bring up, I meant to talk about more about the writing back or the pulling back of data earlier. After the person registers in EdReg, I mentioned this quickly, the AMS, the integration can be set up to pull that back into their profile in your system. That is pretty complicated. You just have to really plan it out in advance and think it through. A lot of these like simple changes you can make kind of on the fly. Oh, we didn't think of that, we didn't think of that. But some of the other things like sending back the data, you do really want to plan that out pretty thoroughly in advance. So that's kind of it for the problems you might encounter.
And those that have done integration, you want to tell us some of your problems? We heard the one about the group reg. Am I opening up Pandora's box if I ask? What other problems have you guys encountered? Nobody wants to be brave. I give you a lot of credit for, oh, okay.
So in our AMS, there are multiple email fields, and for whatever reason, our members just like to put something random in each of them. None of them match up. So a lot of the times when they're trying to, move from one system to the next, it doesn't take whatever email address they're putting in because it's the wrong one.
Right. Yeah, I've definitely seen that. The one client that I have, we actually put the exact field name of what the AMS email is. So we say, please enter your preferred email field address. Like the word preferred is the one that kind of helps them to really try to get them to do that, but that definitely can happen.
Yeah,
For
ours
sure.
wouldn't follow up with that. It would still be it's not working, but it's a good idea.
But just again, reiterating, like there really is a close working relationship with with our team going back to your membership person and just really talking about these attendees and making sure they're successfully registered by communicating.
Anybody else want to share? Okay. It's worth it, but of course, like anything, you're going to have some problems, and you can fix them. There's no problem that's not fixable for this. You can absolutely go back and make some changes. Okay, so we put 5 tips for integration. We put that on there just to remember. It's just sort of a pep rally type thing because we want all of you to consider integration for the future. The first is the investment will serve your organization for years. We now have done this for a couple years. Once Cadmium bought EdReg, and we started looking into this, and now we see the fruits of our labor. Right? One of the first years, I thought we were all going to tear our hair out, and it turned out so great. Now it only took 2 hours, I think, this second year, and the data they're getting and the amount, how seamless it is for their attendees and their members, it really has transformed the entire way they think about registration, and it combines, again, the data for their AMS, which is their data for their members, their data for their event, and combining it so that they can look at it. It's well worth that first year. We've gotten a lot better from project manager, and we understand now the problems, but they now see that pain that first year was well worth it. And it wasn't pain in terms of it couldn't be done. It was just you had to think through. The association wasn't quite used to thinking through this, and once we guided them through that process, they now love it. So investment, think of it as investment. Don't think of it as a one-year cost.
Yeah, and then again, going along with what Jen said, another tip, which I really just spoke about, is kind of like aim high, like really go with like, I'm gonna do like a complicated, I'm gonna pull all this data back, kind of go in big, and you can always scale back. It's definitely harder to go in big and scale back than to start your integration and be like, oh darn, I wish I had done that, I wish I had done that. So that's my other tip. This is a big one.
Have AMS test accounts ready to check all membership type scenarios.
Yes.
There are lots of membership types and lots of registration types. Make sure you have a test account for every single one. Remember when I was joking earlier the early bird, with the welcome reception, with the guest, and this is a corporate member or something, you're going to need test accounts for every single one of them. It seems silly, but we have seen, 300, right? 300 different ones. It just solves problems down the road. And we've all in our company gone in and pretended we're somebody and tested it just to make sure.
And our next slide is another thing we've already mentioned. Really, that first year, it's going to take you 12 weeks to develop the integration. So you just want to plan ahead. And then, obviously, going forward after that, it's really quick and easy updates. All right.
So like all event planners that you guys are meeting planners here, you always have a plan B. You're always doing workarounds, right? Think about this for integration. If you miss something in your planning, don't worry about it. You can go back and update it after the live event. Do you want to spend the 12 weeks thinking through? Do you want to make sure that you do test accounts for all the scenarios? Sure. But you can fix it. It's not a one and done. And so I tell you that everybody here that has done convention planning, you can't think of everything. We want you to. You need to spend time to it, but don't worry about it. There is a possibility. Just don't do 99% of the work up front so that the few things that slip through you can go back and fix. Okay, so we put some 5 takeaways. The integration makes the event management process easier for you. You can save a lot of time on customer service. For those who do registration, who people are calling about membership, even though you need to be prepared probably for the early bird deadline, that this entire process is great from an event manager because you know how many people are members, you know if they've signed up at the last moment. It just makes the whole concept better. Oops, I went through 2 of them, sorry. The next one is integration makes the registration process easier for attendees. This is a much better way for them to register because, if you do it on the honor system and then you got to go back, somebody registered as a member, their membership lapsed 6 months ago, you have to go back and collect more money. Now it's a pain on your side with the invoicing. Then you have to annoy a member who says, what are you talking about? Of course I did, right? That aspect it just makes it very seamless, it makes it very easy. It's also passive. Nope, you didn't register as a member. I gotta go renew my membership.
And also back to what we talked about at the beginning too with the Cadmium products. If you do that integration in EdReg, it really is easier for them when they're downloading the app and when they're going onto the website and all those things too.
Yeah, I want to go back to one of those slides at the end of this. That data flow slide is one of my favorite slides of all times. We created to understand how the data flows from EdReg through the Cadmium products. We truly believe in the Cadmium ecosystem of products. If you start with the integration in EdReg, you don't have to worry about integration with the app and Event Scribe and everything. It flows, the data flows all the way through all the different products. So it's much easier if you do the integration at EdReg in the beginning and not worry it farther down. Integration can save you money over time. Yeah, there's going to be a cost that first year, but over time, the data that you're going to get, the ability that you're going to have, I just said, imagine if their membership lapsed and they registered as a member. The staff time is going to take to call them, to send them another invoice, to convince them to register as a non-member or to renew their membership. It's going to save you a lot of money over time. Oh, I already said this one, sorry. Integration with EdReg is the best place to integrate among the Cadmium suite of products. That's okay. That's our favorite one, I think. That's definitely our favorite one. And then finally, integrations are not as complicated as they sound. They're not off-the-shelf, push-a-button, easy, but sometimes people worry that it's really complicated, especially for some types of AMSs. It's not that complicated. It's not push-a-button easy, but it's not as complicated as it sounds.
They're very doable.
Yeah. All right. Any more questions? You guys have been asking good questions. As you think of questions, I'm going to bring up that data. I love this slide. This is my favorite slide. Yeah. If you guys don't know this slide, learn it. It's my favorite one of all time. I'll leave it up.
Thank you. Not so much a question as a shout out for your discovery phase, because you can take care of those four of the 5 tips and tricks on the front end if you talk about it first.
You can talk about things like what data do you want to have written back to your AMS and why, and when you dream big, why you're dreaming big, and what you're going to do with that data. And also, I want to put in a word, not that I'm shilling for you guys, but don't assume just because Cadmium has a project manager, they're going to herd your cats. They're herding their cats. So get somebody, whether it's internally or SB or somebody else, to do it for you. It's essential.
I definitely did not pay him to say that. But I would say, regardless of whether it's us or somebody, having a project manager, you need, obviously it's a Cadmium product, and then you have an AMS. You need a project manager to make sure, I'll use his language, to herd the cats, that it gets done on time and accomplishes your goals. Any other questions? No? Oh, okay. Are these a virtual attendee questions? Or they're from the app? Oh, love it. Love it. I love that you're using the app. I love that you did Mentimeter. I love these tech people.
All right, so our first one is, how do you handle when an AMS email address is their personal email, but they registered with their work email? You can.
That is definitely a Corey question.
So they have to register with the AMS email. If they try to register with that personal email, it's going to give them an error that says this email is not found. Enter another email address. I think we usually put on the page, like, make sure this is the exact email in your a member account. So that's, there's no way they can't register without that email that links them up to the AMS. And I actually should add that here is most of our clients also require, even if it's a non-member, that they create an account in your AMS as a non-member. So they would actually go into your AMS, create a non-member account, and then when they went to register with that email, it would pull all that information over. So they're never really entering their address and all that in EdgeReg. They're going to enter that in your AMS, and then we're going to bring that over. Does that make sense? Kind of, sort of?
All right, next we have, for the spreadsheet verification, how are updates to member records handled? Do new spreadsheets need to be uploaded?
Yeah, Joe, do you want to answer this one? I feel like Joe works with, am I putting you on the spot?
You guys.
Yeah,
This is our team too, in the
Yeah.
back. This is Joe and Ashley. They're both
everyone.
part of our registration department, and you saw them up front at the badging.
I just put Joe on the spot.
Yeah, so
Sorry, Joe.
for the spreadsheet, it can be done on an individual basis. Somebody can go in and update someone's email address to a new one. They can add an individual new member if they like, or if they had a company that just signed up and they have 500 new members, they can upload a brand new spreadsheet. So it can be done any type of way, and it's instant.
We have a client that Joe, he's the specialist on this, for this spreadsheet lookup, so he knows all of it.
All right, next one was, are users able to register on behalf of others and/or multiple people at once with a singular payment?
I would have to think about that a little bit more, but not with a single payment. They would need to probably go in to each record. Yeah. Yeah,
Let's ask the question. Are we referring to group registration for
right.
the event?
I was asking, if we, our membership, an agency becomes a member, and then individuals of that agency can also become members. The question is, could that agency register multiple people at once with that singular payment?
With the singular payment for their membership?
No, for the registrations.
Yeah, so they can register 14 members and enter their credit card.
Yeah, I mean, what you could, yeah,
Yeah, there's a group reg functionality within EdgeReg that would allow you to register a group of people by providing.
but not with the single sign-on, with the member
Right,
lookup.
not with the single sign-on. Yeah, you'd have to, go through the specifics with your reg project manager, make sure, or with SB, and make sure that it's going to serve your needs. But yeah, you can do group registration, and as long as it's validating them each as a member, then it would allow them each the member rate, and then you'd pay with a single credit card.
Yeah, I have a question on top of that. Thank you.
So how would the group registration work if you have comps allotted to different companies? Say, for example, you allot 9 comps and they're trying to register 10 people. Would it take into account the 9 that are available and then just charge for the one person? Or if there's 5, or, sponsors,
You
members.
could do it with like a discount. Yeah, and I was gonna say you could do it with a discount code too.
Like if they were doing a group registration, you know?
For your group, I know exactly what your registration flow for like the logic is. It should validate.
Regardless. So if you tried to put a quantity more than the quantity that's allotted for your organization for comps, it would stop you even if you had group registration. It should.
I always wanted to set up group registration, but I was afraid.
Yeah. Talk with your project manager and they can confirm with me. I'm trying to go off of my memory of what you have for your project, so.
Okay, what is the role of engaging in data governance as part of the implementation and integration process?
Data governance.
I don't know what that means.
Okay, data governance is basically just understanding why you're doing stuff. Like, what are the questions we need answered? What are the data elements? Where do they live? What are we gonna do with them to tell a meaningful story? So like, I would imagine that discovery gives you a great opportunity to put that.
Oh, right.
Got it.
Like,
Okay, go ahead.
yeah, I mean, I have just like a huge spreadsheet that has a list of all the different questions, where we populate all the information, so we all can stay on track. Yes.
Sorry, we didn't understand it. It's, when you're doing the discovery, her questions could be, 10 of them could be no, and then we don't have to do the other 10 questions, right? So, sorry, we just didn't understand the jargon.
Yeah, I think ultimately the reason to integrate would be to maintain your AMS as, the reason to integrate would be to maintain your AMS as a system of truth for all of these records so that there's not a duplicate name and address for a registration that was input versus what you have in your AMS. So the goal of all of this is to maintain your system of truth that you're constantly investing in as their, your members, your constituents, your sponsors, their information rather than disparate between the AMS and registration.
And I'm going to give a specific example. We had an association once say, well, I don't even know how many years my board of directors have been coming to my meeting. They don't capture their data in two different places, their registration and the event tech and then their AMS. Well, we want committee members who have been at least been involved, have come to the meeting for 3 years before on the program committee. We don't even know that. We've had lots of associations where they get this registration data and they don't ever upload it back into their AMS. So they don't have the data to understand what's happening with their governance structure, with their committees, with the background on that. They also don't have the understanding to figure out from a marketing standpoint, right? If their membership marketing is not tied into their event marketing, well, how do they understand how to maximize the people at their event or to maximize membership? They need to understand who are their membership, the segments of the membership, the targeted, is it coming into from an attendance standpoint? And the only way you can do it if the data, I'm going to use Stevens, is it, what did you say, truth? It's the
Source of truth.
Source of truth. I like that. I'm going to start using that, source of truth. I like it, especially in today's day. Source of truth. Because in order to figure out how to grow and scale up either your membership or your events, if you don't have good data, you'll never, or you'll spend 100 hours. Some coordinator, you're going to hire some intern to spend 100 hours making Excel spreadsheets to practice this data, and it's still not going to be good, right?
Was she raising her hand right here?
Thank you. I have two-part question. One is on top of her question that the group registration, if they pay, make one payment for the whole entire group, what happened to one of that group member make cancellation or make some kind of changes? How is that going to impact?
Yeah, I can start answering that. Jen, you might want to jump in. So with most of the integrations we see, it's kind of like a one system, right? Are you talking about with the writing back to your AMS, like how that would update? Because it's easy to update in EdgeReg. They actually can just go in themselves, change the name and self-service or whatever. So the integration is kind of sent back like the first time the person registers. There is a way that you can set up an integration that is a constant update. Where, so it just depends on, you would need to kind of talk about that during the discovery phase and make sure that your integration was capable of doing that, if that makes any sense. Is that right, Stephen?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what the AMS system requires, if you can pass an update to a registration, or if it's more of a collation of activities. So if in my record, it can show I was registered three records, registration, cancellation, if there's a kind of a list rather than one status, in either capacity, in the discovery phase, we can talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
Making sure we're passing that back appropriately. But the 9 that registered within group are maintaining themselves, and only the 1 is canceled, not the entirety of that group reg.
All right, guys, unfortunately, we are out of time. So if you have additional questions, I'm sure we'll have a couple people sticking around to answer your questions.
Thank you. Thank you.